The thermostat does not react to the temperature. It sets the temperature. The thermometer reads the room, but the thermostat changes it. Tonight, God is turning you from a thermometer into a thermostat. You are not here to read the atmosphere. You are here to set it. If this sound reached your heart, hit subscribe. More music like this drops every week. You are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. Matthew 5, verse 14. The thermometer reads the room, goes up when the room is hot, goes down when the room is cold. It reacts to every change. But a thermostat sets the temperature. It doesn't follow the environment. It commands what the atmosphere becomes and the range. And God is turning you from a thermometer into a thermostat. You are not here to react to the room. You are here to rearrange. You are the light of the world, and the light does not adjust to the darkness. The light changes the darkness by its flame. Your life has been reading the room, rising with the highs, falling with the lows. But the thermostat sets what the thermometer only names. Then the thermostat says, stop reacting to the atmosphere, start setting it, because the temperature of the room changes when the thermostat decides and reclaims. You are the light of the world. The thermostat sets the temperature tonight, and the room that was cold just changed because I stopped reading the atmosphere and started setting it with light. The thermostat. I am not here to read the room. I am here to set the temperature, and the atmosphere changes when I walk in. The thermostat, the thermometer reacts, but the thermostat commands. And God just upgraded me from reader to setter. And the wind. You are the light, the thermostat, and the darkness adjusts to the light, not the light to the darkness. And the begin, the thermostat, and the God who installs thermostats just said, you set the temperature now, and the room responds to what you bring in. The thermostat set the temperature in the lion's den. Daniel didn't read the room, he set it with prayer, and the lions responded to the setting and the peace. The thermostat set the temperature in the prison. Paul and Silas didn't read the chains, they said worship, and the earthquake responded to the release. The thermostat set the temperature at the Red Sea. Moses didn't read the army behind, he set faith forward, and the water responded, and the increase. And the thermostat says every room changer in the Bible was a thermostat, not a thermometer, because they set the atmosphere instead of reading the crease. Your thermostat is installed. You walk into the room and the room changes, not because the room decided, but because the thermostat set the temperature and the lease. The thermostat says set it, walk in, worship, pray, believe, and the atmosphere responds to the setting, not the setting, to the atmosphere and the peace. temperature changes when I walk in. The thermostat is how I win. The thermostat! I just walked into the room and the temperature changed because I stopped reading the atmosphere and started setting it with faith. The thermostat. And the God who upgrades thermometers into thermostats just said the room responds to you now, and the atmosphere shifts in your wraith. From every room I walked into, reading the temperature, not knowing I was built to set it, and the atmosphere was waiting for my faith. The thermostat is installed, and the room changes, and the temperature responds, and the atmosphere shifts, because I stopped reacting and started creating the wraith. The thermostat. The thermostat. The thermostat set the temperature. A tripwire. A tripwire is invisible, stretched across the path at ankle height, and the intruder who crosses it triggers the alarm that wakes the whole house up. And God stretched a tripwire across the enemy's path, invisible, and the attack that was heading for your life just crossed the wire, and the alarm went up. The tripwire says the enemy didn't see it coming. The wire was placed before the intruder planned the route, and the alarm triggered the defense before the corrupt. No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and the tripwire is the shall not prosper, the invisible line that catches the attack before it reaches and erupts. Your enemy crossed the tripwire last night. The alarm went off in heaven, and the defense was activated before the attack reached your doorstep and the disrupt. And the tripwire says the defense system was installed before the first threat. Invisible wires across every path the enemy could take and interrupt. No weapon formed shall prosper. The tripwire triggers tonight. And the enemy who crossed the invisible line just activated the alarm that wakes the defense and the light. The tripwire, invisible across the enemy's path, and the attack that was heading for me just triggered the alarm before it arrived. The tripwire, the intruder didn't see the wire because God placed it before the route was planned, and the defense survived. No weapon shall prosper. The wire and the alarm that triggered awoke the defense system that was installed before the first threat contrived. The tripwire and the God who stretches invisible wires just caught the enemy's foot, and the alarm is ringing, and the defense is alive. The tripwire caught Pharaoh's army. The plagues were the alarm, and the Red Sea was the defense that the tripwire activated before the chase. The tripwire caught Haman's plot. Mordecai's refusal triggered the alarm, and Esther's banquet was the defense that caught the enemy in the space. The tripwire caught Herod's decree. The angel's warning triggered the alarm, and Egypt was the defense that kept the child safe from the embrace. And the tripwire says every enemy plot in the Bible was caught by an invisible wire, because God places the alarm before the intruder chooses the place. Your tripwire just caught something. The alarm triggered, the defense activated, and the attack that was heading for your life was stopped before it reached the base. The tripwire says the system works. Invisible wires on and the weapon formed didn't prosper. And the floor, from every attack I braced for not knowing the tripwire was already placed, and the alarm would trigger before the threat reached the shore. The tripwire caught the enemy, and the alarm rang, and the defense held, and the attack fell short, because the wire was there before the war. The tripwire, the tripwire, the tripwire, the tripwire. The enemy didn't see it. A slow thaw is when frozen ground warms 1 degree at a time. The ice doesn't crack overnight, it softens gradually, until the soil is ready to receive the seed again. And God is doing a slow thaw in your life. The ground froze months ago, but the warmth is returning 1 degree at a time, and the soil softens in the rain. The slow thaw says the frozen season is not permanent. The temperature is rising, and the ground that rejected every seed last winter is softening to receive again. He restores my soul, and the restoration is the thaw, the slow warming that brings the ground back to life, degree by degree, until the planting begins and the gain. Your ground has been frozen, nothing would grow, nothing would take root, but the thaw started weeks ago, and the soil is getting softer with every degree of the vein. And the slow thaw says the ground that was frozen is almost ready. 1 more degree, and the soil that rejected everything last season will receive the seed and sustain. He restores my soul. The slow thaw warms tonight, and the frozen ground is softening 1 degree at a time, because the warmth is returning in the light. The slow thaw, the frozen ground is warming 1 degree at a time, and the soil that rejected every seed is softening to receive again. The slow thaw, not overnight, not dramatic, just 1 degree warming, and the ice that held the ground is releasing, and the rain. He restores my soul. The thaw, and the soil coming back to life will be ready for the biggest planting, because the thaw prepared what the freeze detained. The slow thaw and the God who controls temperature just raised it 1 more degree, and the frozen ground is almost soft enough to plant again. The slow thaw warmed Abraham's frozen hope, 25 years, 1 degree at a time, and the soil of Sarah's womb softened enough to receive Isaac and the ground. The slow thaw warmed David's frozen throne, years in caves, 1 degree at a time, and the soil of Israel softened enough to receive its king and the crown. The slow thaw warmed Peter's frozen faith, 3 denials froze the ground, but 3 restorations thawed the soil 1 degree at a time, and the sound. And the slow thaw says the most productive plantings in the Bible follow the longest freezes, because the thaw produces soil that the warm season never found. Your soil is almost gone. You can feel the softening, and the seed God has been holding since the freeze is about to meet ground that's ready and profound. The slow thaw says 1 more degree, the ground is almost there, and the planting that follows this thaw will produce the most abundant harvest, because frozen soil thawed is the most fertile ground. The slow thaw, the frozen ground is warming 1 degree at a time, and the soil that rejected every seed is softening to receive again. The slow thaw, not overnight, not dramatic, just 1 degree warming, and the ice that held the ground is releasing, and the rain 1 degree at a time. The frozen softens through the climb. Ice releases, soil receives. The slow thaw is what believes. The slow thaw, the last degree just warmed in the soil, the soft in the seed that's been waiting since the freeze just met ground that's ready, because the thaw is complete. The slow thaw, and the God who warms frozen ground 1 degree at a time just finished the thaw, and the planting begins, and the harvest from this soil can't be beat. From every frozen season I cursed, not knowing the temperature was rising 1 degree at a time, and the soil was softening beneath my feet. The slow thaw completed, and the ground is ready, and the seed meets soil, and the harvest from thawed ground exceeds what the warm season ever produced in the heat. The slow thaw, the slow thaw, the slow thaw. The ground is soft again.
The spring inside a mechanism stores energy when compressed. The more you push it down, the more energy it stores. And when the spring releases, the force exceeds what pushed it. Your compression was the storage, and the release is about to exceed the weight that pushed you down. Tonight, God releases the spring. Stay. The best song on this album is still ahead. Subscribe so you never miss one. The Lord will restore the years. The locusts have eaten Joel 2 verse 25. A spring stores energy when compressed. The more weight pushes it down, the more force builds inside the coil and the core. And God has been compressing a spring in your life. The weight was real, the pushing was heavy, but the energy stored in the compression exceeds the force that bore. The Lord Spring says the compression was not the punishment. The compression was the storage, and the release that follows sends the spring higher than the original floor. The Lord will restore the years, and the restoration is the spring release. The stored energy of years of compression launching upward with a force the weight can't ignore. Your spring has been compressed, months of weight pushing down, but the energy in the coil is building, and the release is imminent, and the door And the Lord Spring says the launch exceeds the compression. What pushed pushed you down stored energy in the coil. And what goes up when the spring releases defies the force that bore. The Lord will restore the years. The Lord spring releases tonight. And the stored energy from the compression launches higher than the weight that pushed it down in the light. The Lord spring, the compression stored energy, and the release sends me higher than the original position, because the force exceeds the weight that pushed me down. The Lord spring, years of compression, months of weight, but the energy in the coil was building, and the release is the rebound that astounds. Oh, restore the year, the spring, and the launch from the compression exceeds what the weight intended, because the spring converts pressure into upward force and the crown. The Lord spring and the God who stores energy in compression just release the spring. And the force that launches me exceeds every pound that held me down. The Lord spring release for Joseph, 13 years compressed, but the release launched him from prison floor to prime minister's throne in one day. And the rise, the Lord spring release for Israel, 400 years compressed, but the release launched them from slavery to freedom in one night. And the prize, the Lord spring release for Lazarus, 4 days compressed, but the release launched him from death to life in one word. And the surprise, and the Lord spring says the longest compressions produce the most powerful releases, because the energy stored is proportional to the weight and the tides. Your spring is about to release. You can feel the coil vibrating, and the force that launches you will exceed every year of compression. And the cries the Lord spring says the weight that pushed you down just became the fuel for the launch. And what goes up exceeds what came down, because the spring converts the pressure and the skies. The Lord spring, the compression stored energy, and the release sends me higher than the original position, because the force exceeds the weight that pushed me down. The Lord spring, years of compression, months of weight, but the energy in the coil was building, and the release is the rebound that astounds.
Weight pushes down,
energy stores up,
the spring compresses,
then fills the cup.
release exceeds
The compression,
the Lord spring.
ends the recession.
The Lord spring, the spring just released, and the force that launched me exceeds every pound of compression, because the stored energy converted the weight into elevation. The Lord spring, and the God who stores energy in springs just released years of compression, and the launch exceeds the push and the restoration. From every year of compression
I endured,
not knowing the weight was storing energy in the spring, and the release would exceed the duration. The Lord spring released, and the launch is higher than the fall, and the compression became the fuel, and the spring defied the gravitation. The Lord spring,
the Lord spring,
the release exceeds the weight.
An overflow valve opens when the tank is full, not when it's empty, because the valve only releases when there's more inside than the container can hold. And God's blessing has been filling your tank level by level, and the overflow valve is about to open, because the container is full and the blessing exceeds the mold. The overflow valve says the overflow is not a spill, it's the designed release point. And what pours out when the tank exceeds capacity is the blessing the world sees unfold. My cup overflows, and the overflow is the valve, the point where the blessing inside exceeds the container. And what spills out becomes the testimony that's told. Your tank has been filling, you didn't feel it, level by level, but the valve is at the top. And the blessing just reached the overflow point and the goal. And the overflow valve says the filling was the hidden season, and the overflow that starts tonight is the visible season. And what pours out of you will be more than what went in the threshold. My cup overflows, the overflow valve opens tonight, and the blessing that filled the tank just reached the top. And what pours out is the testimony in the light. The overflow valve, the tank is full, and the valve open, and the blessing that pours out exceeds what the container can hold. And the world sees the spill. The overflow valve, the filling was hidden, but the overflow is visible. And what comes out of my life now is the blessing running over the sill. My cup overflow, the valve, and the designed release point is the top of the tank where the hidden blessing becomes visible. And the thrill, the overflow valve, and the God who fills tanks just reached the top. And the valve open, and the overflow starts tonight, and it's real. The overflow valve opened for the widow's oil. Elisha said, keep pouring, and the oil overflowed every vessel because the tank exceeded the containers. And the overflow valve opened at the feeding of 5,000, 12 baskets left over. The overflow exceeded the need because the filling exceeded the floor. The overflow valve opened at Pentecost. The Spirit filled the room and overflowed into the streets because the 120 couldn't contain what God was pouring. And the door, and the overflow valve says the most visible blessings in the Bible were overflows, not fillings, because the world sees what pours out, not what goes in. And the core, your overflow is starting, the tank hit the top, and the blessing running over the edge of your life is about to be visible to everyone around and sure. Oh, yeah, the overflow valve says the hidden filling season is complete, and the overflow that starts now will be the testimony that the world sees when the blessing runs over the floor. The overflow valve, the tank is full, and the valve open, and the blessing that pours out exceeds what the container can hold. And the world sees the spill. The overflow valve, the filling was hidden, but the overflow is visible. And what comes out of my life now is the blessing running over the sill. Tank full, valve open, the overflow is the token. What was hidden now is seen. The overflow valve is the dream. Oh, the overflow valve, the tank just hit the top, and the blessing is pouring over the edge. And what was filling in secret is now visible to everyone around me. Oh, the overflow valve, and the God who fills tanks in secret just reach the designed release point. And the overflow is the testimony that the hidden season produced abundantly. From every hidden season, I thought the tank was empty, not knowing the level was rising, and the valve at the top was the release point for the abundantly. The overflow valve
blessing pours, and the world sees the overflow. And the hidden filling season was the preparation for the testimony. The overflow valve, the overflow valve, the overflow valve. The tank just hit the top.
A power surge hits the grid without warning. The voltage spikes, and in 1 second more electricity flows through the wire than a month of normal current could produce. And God just sent a power surge through the grid of your life. 1 second, 1 spike, and the voltage that hit your system exceeds what months of steady power could introduce. The power surge says the spike was not a malfunction. It was the grid receiving more power than the normal setting allows. And the surge rewires the capacity and the use. I will pour out my spirit on all flesh. And the pouring is the surge, not the steady drip, but the spike that overwhelms the circuit with power that can't be refused. The steady power kept you alive, but the surge changes the game. The spike that hits tonight takes the system from surviving to thriving with the boost. And the power surge says, brace yourself, the steady season is over. The spike is coming, and what lights up will stay lit, because the surge rewires the fuse. I will pour out my spirit on all flesh. The power surge hits tonight, and the spike that overwhelms the circuit takes the system from surviving to thriving in the light. The power surge, not the steady drip, but the spike that lights every dead circuit at once. And the dark rooms illuminate in 1 second of the blast. The power surge, the system went from surviving to thriving, because the spike overwhelmed every wire with power that surpasses the past. Pour out my spirit, the surge, and the voltage that hits tonight exceeds what months of steady current produce, because the spike is vast. The power surge and the God who sends surges just overwhelm my system, and the lights are on in every room, and the darkness can't last. The power surge hit at Pentecost, 1 spike, 120 people, every person lit simultaneously, because the surge was the outpouring and the sound. The power surge hit Elijah's altar, 1 spike, wet wood, dead sacrifice. The fire consumed everything, because the voltage from heaven exceeded what the ground. The power surge hit the valley of dry bones, 1 breath, 1 spike. An army stood, because the surge of the spirit reached every bone underground. And the power surge says the most dramatic changes in the Bible happened in 1 surge, not in steady progress, because God sometimes rewrites the story in 1 round. Your power surge is charging now. You can feel the hum building, and the spike that comes will light every dead room in your house in 1 surge. And the sound, the power surge says this is not maintenance power, this is transformation power. And the surge that hits tonight rewires the capacity of everything you found. The power surge, not the steady drip, but the spike that lights every dead circuit at once. And the dark rooms illuminate in 1 second of the blast. The power surge, the system went from surviving to thriving, because the spike overwhelmed every wire with power that surpasses the past. Steady was survival, the surge is the change. Every room lit in 1 exchange. Not a drip, but a flood. The power surges, heaven's blood. The power surge, the spike just hit, and every dead room lit up, and the darkness
normal capacity. The power surge,
the God who sends surges,
just overwhelmed my system. And the voltage that flows now is the strongest I've ever carried. With tenacity, from every month a steady drip, not knowing the surge was charging in the spike with light. Everything at once, with audacity. The power surge,
and the lights blaze,
and the circuit upgraded, and the system went from barely surviving to fully thriving. With vivacity, the power surge,
the power surge,
the power surge, everything lit up at once. A buffer zone. A buffer zone is the neutral space between two opposing forces. The strip of ground where neither side operates, and the person standing in the buffer is protected from both. And God placed the buffer zone around your life. The forces push from every side, but the neutral ground between the attack and your position is the space where neither side can encroach. The buffer zone says the forces are real. Pressure from the left, pressure from the right, but the strip of protection between the conflict and your core is the approach. The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him, and the encampment is the buffer, the ring of protection that creates neutral ground around the coach. Your buffer zone has been active, the pressure's pushed hard, but the space between the force and your core absorbed the tension and the reproach. And the buffer zone says the distance between the enemy and your heart is the buffer God placed, and the neutral ground is the reason the force never reached your poach. The angel of the Lord encamps around. The buffer zone holds tonight, and the neutral space between the pressure and my core is the protection that keeps the force from reaching in the light. The buffer zone, the forces push from every side, but the neutral ground between the attack and my core absorbs what the enemy sends. The buffer zone, strip of protection that God placed between me and the conflict, is the space where the pressure loses its power and bends. The angel encamps the buffer, and the ring around my life creates distance between the force and my heart and the dividends. The buffer zone, and the God who places neutral ground between the battle and the person just absorbed another push, and my core remains an amends. The buffer zone protected Daniel. The ring of angels encamped between the prophet and the lions, and the neutral ground was silence and the main. The buffer zone protected Israel. The pillar of cloud and fire encamped between the nation and the army, and the buffer absorbed the chase and the rain. The buffer zone protected Elisha at Dothan, the hills full of horses and chariots of fire, encamped between the prophet and the army and the terrain. And the buffer zone says every protected person in the Bible had a ring of neutral ground, because God places the buffer before the force arrives. And the campaign your buffer zone is holding, the pressure hits the neutral ground before it reaches your core, and the space between the force and your your heart is God's domain. The buffer zone says the force can push all it wants. The neutral ground absorbs the pressure, and the core behind the buffer never feels the full strain. The buffer zone, the force is pushed from every side, but the neutral ground between the attack and my core absorbs what the enemy sends. The buffer zone, strip of protection that God placed between me and the conflict, is the space where the pressure loses its power and bends. Neutral ground between the force, the buffer absorbs every course. The pressure hits, but the core is safe. The buffer zone is God's grace. The buffer zone, the force is pushed all night, but the neutral ground absorbed the pressure, and my core never felt the full impact because the buffer held. The buffer zone, and the God who places neutral ground between the battle and the person just proved that the distance between the enemy and my heart can't be quelled. From every pressure I felt, not knowing the buffer zone was absorbing the force before it reached my core, and the neutral ground was held. The buffer zone absorbed the pressure, and the core is safe, and the forces lose the power in the neutral ground, and the protection excelled. The buffer zone, the buffer zone, the buffer zone, the neutral ground held.
A phase shift is when matter changes state. Ice becomes water, water becomes steam. The substance is the same, but the form is completely different after the shift. And God is triggering a phase shift in your life. Same person, same spirit, same DNA. But the form you operate in is about to change because the temperature hit the lift. The phase shift says the ice didn't die to become water, it transformed. And the freedom of the liquid exceeds the rigidity of the solid because the shift was a gift. See, I am doing a new thing, and the new thing is the phase shift. The transformation from one state of being to another, where the substance remains but the form is swift. Your phase shift is happening. The temperature just hit the transition point, and what was solid and rigid is becoming fluid and free, and the drift. And the phase shift says the substance is the same.
You are the same person,
but the state you operate in after the shift has more freedom, more reach, more flow, and the lift. See, I am doing a new thing. The phase shift transforms tonight, and the state I operated in just changed because the temperature hit
the transition point in the light.
the phase shift.
Same substance,
Different state and the form.
I operate
It just changed from solid to liquid because the temperature hit
the transition,
the phase shift. Ice to water,
water to steam.
and the freedom in the new
New state exceeds the rigidity of the old.
and the permission. A new thing, the phase shift, and the transformation doesn't change who I am. It changes how I move and the commission. The phase shift and the God who controls temperature just triggered the transition, and the new state has more freedom, more reach, more flow, and the mission. The phase shift transformed Abraham from wanderer to father. Same man, different state. The temperature of the promise hit the transition point, and the substance changed form. phase shift transformed Peter from fisherman to apostle. Same man, different state. The temperature of Pentecost,
It transitioned
and the form broke the norm.
the phase shift.
Transformed Paul from persecutor to preacher.
Same man, different state.
The temperature of Damascus
Hit the transition and the new form could reform.
And the phase shift says every transformation in the Bible was a phase shift where the substance stayed, but the state changed because the temperature hit
The transformation point and the storm.
the phase shift
The phase shift.
just happened.
The temperature crossed the transition.
And the state you operate in now has more freedom than the rigid state
You were in before the form.
The phase shift says
You are the same person,
but the form is new,
and the
fluidity of the new state exceeds the limitations of the old and the swarm. The phase shift
same substance, different state.
and the form I operate,
It just changed from solid to liquid.
because the temperature hit the transition. The phase shift
Ice to water, water to steam.
and the freedom in the new
New state exceeds
the rigidity of the old and the permission.
same substance.
New state
The temperature hit
and change the fate.
solid to liquid.
Rigid to free. The phase shift is the new me. Oh, the phase shift
The transition just happened.
and the form I operate in is completely different,
Because the temperature crossed the point.
and the substance transformed its state. The phase shift and the God who controls transitions just shifted
My phase.
and the freedom in the new state exceeds everything the old form could create. From every rigid season I was stuck in, not knowing the temperature was rising toward the transition point that would change my state. The phase shift happened, and the form is new, and the substance is the same, but the state has more freedom, more reach, and more flow, and it's great.
The phase shift. The phase shift.
Same person, new state. And the Aquifer is an underground lake, so vast that entire cities drink from it for centuries. The surface above is dry, but the water below is immeasurable and free. And God has an aquifer beneath your life, holds more water than generations could consume tonight. God is drilling into your aquifer. The surface drought ends when the well reaches the underground lake. Share this with someone who needs peaceful music today. This sound was made to be passed on. With joy, you will draw water from the wells of salvation. Isaiah 12 verse 3. An aquifer is an underground lake, so vast that cities drink from it for centuries. The surface above is dry, but the water below is immeasurable and free. And God has an aquifer beneath your life. The surface drought is real, the ground is cracked, but the underground lake holds more water than you can see. The aquifer says the surface is not the truth about what's beneath. The dry ground above sits on top of an ocean of provision that holds the key. With joy, you will draw water from the wells of salvation. And the well that reaches the aquifer never runs dry, because the underground source is infinity. Your surface is dry, the drought is visible, but the aquifer beneath your feet holds water that generations couldn't consume, and that's the guarantee. The aquifer says the drought was a surface problem. The well just needs to reach the underground lake, and the water that flows from the aquifer feeds everything for eternity. With joy you will draw water,
The aquifer opens tonight,
and the well that reaches the underground lake ends the surface drought, because the water below is immeasurable.
in the light. The aquifer,
The surface is dry,
but the underground lake
beneath my feet
holds more water.
than the drought could ever consume. And the well, the aquifer,
The well just reached the water,
and the surface drought ends,
because the source below is immeasurable.
and the spell, with joy draw water.
The aquifer,
And the wells of salvation connect to an underground lake that has fed cities for centuries. And they tell
the aquifer,
and the God who hides lakes underground just drilled through my dry surface. And the water that flows is more than the drought could quell. The aquifer fed Israel for 40 years. The rock was the well, and the underground source was God's provision that never ran dry on the shore. The aquifer fed Elijah at the brook. The ravens were the well, and the underground source was heaven's supply that exceeded what the surface showed in the floor. The aquifer fed the 5,000, the 5 loaves were the well, and the underground source was God's multiplication that exceeded every need and more. And the aquifer says every provision in the Bible came from an underground source that exceeded the surface, because God hides lakes beneath dry ground. And the door, your aquifer is open, the well just reached the water, and the surface drought that lasted months is ending, because the underground lake is pouring. And the core, the aquifer says the surface light, the drought was shallow, and the water beneath your feet is an ocean that generations couldn't exhaust. And the shore,
the aquifer,
the surface is dry,
but the underground lake
beneath my feet
holds more water.
than the drought could ever consume. And the well, the aquifer,
The well just reached the water,
and the surface drought ends,
because the source below is immeasurable.
and the spell,
Dry surface,
lake below,
the well reaches
what the drought doesn't know.
immeasurable water.
Underground sea
The aquifer,
sets me free.
the aquifer,
The well just reached the underground lake, and the water is pouring, and the surface drought that lasted months is ending, because the source below is an ocean.
the aquifer,
And the God who hides lakes beneath dry ground just connected my well to the water. And the flow is immeasurable, and the motion. From every dry surface I stared at, thinking there was no water, not knowing the aquifer beneath my feet held an ocean that generations couldn't drain with devotion.
the aquifer,
Is open, and the water flows, and the dragons, and the underground lake is the source that never dries, and the ocean, the aquifer, the aquifer, the water was always below. counterweight balances the load on the other side. The crane lifts a ton on one end, because the counterweight on the other end matches the force and stabilizes the pull. And God placed the counterweight in your life. The load you carry on one side is heavy, but the weight on the other side is grace. And the balance keeps the system from tipping to the full. The counterweight says the load doesn't need to be removed, it needs to be balanced. And the grace on the other side of the crane matches the weight pound for pound and the pull. My grace is sufficient, and the grace is the counterweight, the matching force that balances what the load tries to tip in the hull. Your load is heavy on one side, you feel the tipping, but the counterweight of grace on the other end is keeping the crane level and the skull. And the counterweight says, the heavier the load, the heavier the grace, because the counterweight always matches the force on the other side. And the load, my grace is sufficient. The counterweight balances tonight. And the load that tips one side is matched by grace on the other side, that keeps the system level in the light. The counterweight, the load is heavy on one side, but the grace on the other side matches the force pound for pound, and the crane stays level. The counterweight, the system doesn't tip because the counterweight of grace balances what the burden tries to unsettle. And the revel, my grace is sufficient. The counterweight and the matching force on the other side proves that the heavier the load, the heavier the grace at the level. The counterweight and the God who places counterweights just match my load with grace. And the crane is level, and the balance is primeval. The counterweight balanced Paul, the thorn was the load, but sufficient grace was the counterweight. And the crane of ministry stayed level through every trial. The counterweight balanced Moses. 2 million people was the load, but I will be with you was the counterweight. And the crane of leadership stayed level mile by mile. The counterweight balanced Jesus. The weight of the world was the load, but the joy set before him was the counterweight. And the crane of salvation held through the trial. And the counterweight says every balanced life in the Bible, but a counterweight of grace that matched the load, because God never lets the crane tip without the dial. Your counterweight is active grace, matching the load pound for pound, and the crane of your life is level, because the force on the other side balances in the style. The counterweight says the load can increase, the grace increases with it, because the counterweight always matches the force, and the crane never tips in the aisle. The counterweight, the load is heavy on one side, but the grace on the other side matches the force pound for pound, and the crane stays level. The counterweight, the system doesn't tip because the counterweight of grace balances what the burden tries to unsettle. And the rebel, heavy load, heavier grace. The counterweight holds the space, pound for pound. The balance stays. The counterweight is how God pays. The counterweight, the load just increased, but the grace on the other side increased with it. And the crane is level because the counterweight always matches the force. The counterweight and the God who places grace on the other side of every load just added weight to the balance, and the system holds its course. From every heavy load I thought would tip the crane, not knowing the counterweight of grace was matching the force on the other side of the source. The counterweight balances and the crane is level, and the load
force is heavier and the system holds because grace matches force. The counterweight, the counterweight, the counterweight. Grace matches the load. Grace matches the load.
An undertone is the note beneath the note, the frequency so low. You feel it more than you hear it. And the undertone gives the music its weight, even though the ear doesn't catch it. And God has an undertone in your life, the note beneath everything. The frequency so deep, you feel it in your chest before your mind can process and then match it. The undertone says the most powerful frequency in the music is the one you can't hear. The sub-bass that vibrates the floor and makes the room shake. And the hatchet, the deep calls to the deep. And the undertone is the deep calling, the frequency below the audible that speaks to the part of you that words can't reach. And the catch it, your undertone has been playing your entire life. The low frequency beneath every season, the vibration you felt in your chest that told you something bigger was underneath. And the latchet, and the undertone says the note you can't hear is the note that holds the music together. And the vibration you feel tonight is God's frequency below the audible. And the patchet, the deep calls to the deep. The undertone vibrates tonight. And the frequency below the audible speaks to the part of me that words can't reach. In the light, the undertone, the note beneath the note, the frequency so low, I feel it more than I hear it. And the vibration holds everything together. The undertone, the deep calls to the deep. And the sub-bass of God's presence vibrates the floor of my life, even when the audible is silent in the weather. Deep calls to deep, the undertone. And the note I can't hear is the note that gives the music its weight. And the tether, the undertone. And the God who speaks in frequencies below the audible just vibrated the floor of my life. And I felt it before I heard it. And the feather, the undertone vibrated in Elijah's cave. The earthquake, fire, and wind were the audible, but the still small voice was the undertone. And the deep responded to the deep. The undertone vibrated in Mary's womb. The world saw nothing, but the undertone of incarnation was shaking the foundation of the universe and the steep. The undertone vibrated in the upper room. The silence of the waiting was the audible, but the undertone of the approaching spirit was building below what the ear could keep. And the undertone says the most powerful movements in the Bible started with frequencies below the audible, because the undertone reaches what the audible can't see. Your undertone is vibrating right now. You can't hear it, but you feel it. The chest vibration, the unexplainable knowing. That's the frequency below and the reap. The undertone says trust the vibration. The note you feel is deeper than the note you hear. And the frequency beneath the audible is God speaking where words can't leap. The undertone, The note beneath the note,
The frequency so low,
I feel it more than I hear it.
and the vibration holds everything together.
The undertone, the deep calls to the deep,
And the sub-bass of God's presence
vibrates the floor of my life.
even when the audible is silent
In the weather,
below the note, another note
the undertone,
keeps me afloat.
I feel it more
Then I can hear
the undertone,
Is God right here?
the undertone,
The frequency below the audible just vibrated, and I felt it in my chest before my mind could process. Because God speaks in notes the ear can't catch,
the undertone,
and the God who speaks beneath the audible just sent the frequency that my spirit recognized before my ears could match. From every silence I thought was emptiness, not knowing the undertone was playing beneath the audible, and the vibration was the message in the thatch. The undertone vibrates,
and I feel it,
and the note beneath the note is God,
and the frequency
holds the music together.